Hi there. My name is Christine Mitchell, and I'm the teaching assistant for marketing research. Today I'm going to talk to you about qualitative data. You're probably pretty familiar and comfortable with quantitative data. In quantitative data, you may pose a question to your respondents, something like, please rate your level of agreement on a scale of 1 to 7, with 1 being completely agree and 7 being completely disagree. And then you're able to take their responses, enter it into SPSS, and get some statistics based off of their responses or the scalar number that they picked, right? So that's quantitative. You're probably quite familiar and comfortable with that. So how would you take your qualitative data and put that into the SPSS and be able to generate some kind of statistics using that? Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today. When you're going through qualitative results, you want to look for common themes or a common thread that you see, maybe a repeated answer to your question or a very similar type question answer to your question from several different responses. Or maybe you want to look at the overall response. Are they all negative? Are more of the responses negative, or are more of them positive? That's also an important uh, data point. So in the beginning, before you go to analyze the data, you have to have a plan. How are you going to handle the responses? Are you going to look for threads, common threads? Are you going to look at positive versus negative responses and analyze that? Um, as you continue to comb through the data, you might change what you feel, what you felt at the beginning. Perhaps you felt like you were going to look at positive versus negative responses, and then you saw that they were all positive, but there were some threads that were poking out as you were coming through that you were able to identify. So maybe you change your plan, and instead of looking at positive and negative, you actually focus on those threads and those common threads. And that's part of the process, right? So as you go through, you will change your plan a little bit, perhaps, and that's all okay. When you get to the meat of the qualitative data and you're going through your respondents' responses to the different questions, that's really the interesting, fun part, at least for me, because you get to see what your respondents are really thinking, right? You can't control how they respond. They're going to tell you what's on their mind. And that can be really impactful, especially when you're putting this data into a report for a client. If you have several respondents saying that the client doesn't like the smell of the soap because it reminds them of their grandma, that's actually a little more impactful instead of just saying 70% of our responses don't like the smell of smoke of the soap. Well, why? If your client knew that their smell of the soap reminded them of their grandma, they would probably change their formula, right? Unless they were marketing to grandmothers. You never know. So that's a little bit about qualitative data, and in our next video we'll show you how to comb through some qualitative data from a real life experience. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.